What if I told you Navy hospitals were hiding fatal mistakes? One 68-year-old nurse risked her pension to expose the truth, and what happened next shocked Congress. The fluorescent lights hummed ominously in the cramped records room of Naval Hospital Portsmouth. Chief Nurse Eleanor Carter, 68, squinted at the faded medical charts. Her reading glasses perched precariously on her nose. The numbers didn't lie. 3 preventable deaths last quarter. All enlisted sailors under 25. Her liver-spotted hand trembled as she compared the files to the official reports. Medication errors had been scrubbed, replaced by unfortunate complications. The pattern was unmistakable and criminal. Across the base, Admiral Richard Whittam adjusted his dress whites in the mirror. Preparing for the hospital's 200th anniversary gala, at 62, his career was picture perfect. Spotless inspections, glowing efficiency reports. The occasional irregularities were merely administrative necessities. The Navy couldn't afford scandals, not with congressional budget votes looming. Eleanor's orthopedic shoes squeaked against the linoleum as she approached the young seaman Martinez lay unconscious, his mother weeping at his bedside. The chart showed the truth: a junior doctor's dosage mistake, covered up as allergic reaction. Eleanor's jaw set like tempered steel. She'd seen this dance before in Vietnam, when officers sacrificed enlisted lives for career points. But this was peacetime. These were her patients, her kids. The next morning, Eleanor marched into the hospital director's office, her navy blue uniform crisp, silver hair pulled tight. "We need to report these incidents properly," she insisted, laying the damning charts before Captain Markham. His face paled. "Eleanor, be reasonable. At your age," she cut him off with a glare that had made interns cry. "I took an oath, so did you." That evening, Eleanor found her locker vandalized, the word traitor scrawled in red. Across town, Whittam received an urgent call. "We have a problem." Markham's voice crackled. "That stubborn old nurse won't back down." Whittam sighed. "Handle it, however necessary." The line went dead as Eleanor sat at her kitchen table. Photographs of smiling young sailors spread before her. Her hands, steady through countless surgeries, finally shook, not from fear, from rage. The shredder whirred hungrily in the hospital basement as Lieutenant Commander Briggs fed it documents. Sweat staining his uniform collar, Eleanor watched from the shadows, her smartphone silently recording. She'd suspected the purge after Markham's warning, but seeing it happen made her knees weaken. The proof was disappearing before her eyes. Next morning, Eleanor arrived early to the medical archives. Her heart sank and tire shelves stood empty. Accidental water damage declared the memo taped to the door. She marched to it, requesting backup files. The young technician avoided her gaze. "System crash, ma'am. Sorry." Eleanor's sharp laugh startled him. "Son, I was circumventing Pentagon bureaucracy before your father hit puberty." That afternoon, Eleanor visited Martinez's mother. The grieving woman handed her a stack of text printouts, her son's desperate messages about medication mix-ups. "They told me I imagined things," Mrs. Martinez whispered. Eleanor squeezed her hand. "We'll make them listen." Admiral Whittam hosted a lavish retirement dinner that evening, toasting to flawless operations. Across town, Eleanor sat in a dimly lit copy shop, running duplicates of the surviving records. The clerk eyed her nervously. "This is a lot of classified-looking stuff, lady." Eleanor met his gaze. "My grandson's stationed in Bahrain. These could save his life." The machine hummed to life. At 300 hours, Eleanor's doorbell rang. 2 naval investigators flashed badges. Concerns about narcotics discrepancies, they claimed. Eleanor let them search her tidy bungalow, knowing they'd find nothing. As they left, one whispered, "Retire quietly, Nurse Carter, for your family's sake." She closed the door, leaned against it, and smiled. For the first time in weeks they were scared. The sunrise found Eleanor at the post office, mailing packets to the Washington Post, her senator, and the Navy Inspector General. Her final stop was the hospital chapel. "Forgive me if I'm wrong," she prayed, "but forgive them more if I'm right." The hospital auditorium buzzed with nervous energy as Admiral Whittam took the podium for his quality improvement speech. Eleanor sat ramrod straight in the front row, her dress blues adorned with Vietnam service ribbons. When Whittam praised the hospital's exceptional safety record, her cane thumped loudly against the floor. Every head turned. "With respect, Admiral," Eleanor's voice carried decades of authority, "your numbers are fiction." Gasps filled the room as she distributed copies of Martinez's records. Whittam's smile froze. "Nurse Carter, this isn't appropriate." "What's inappropriate?" she interrupted. "Is letting sailors die to protect promotions." Chaos erupted. Officers scrambled to confiscate documents while junior staff secretly snapped photos. Whittam signaled security, but Eleanor raised her phone high. "It's already online. Richard, the whole country's watching." That afternoon, Eleanor held an impromptu press conference outside the base gates. Dozens of current and former staff emerged from the crowd to support her, pharmacists with hidden records, corpsmen with stories, even a retired surgeon who'd resigned in protest. "This isn't about one hospital," Eleanor declared. "It's about every enlisted person trusting their leaders with their lives." Wickham watched the news coverage from his office, face purple with rage. "You promised this was handled," he roared at Markham. His phone chimed with the Senate Armed Services Committee summons. In desperation, he ordered Eleanor's arrest for breaching medical privacy. It's found Eleanor calmly waiting at her home, fresh copies of evidence stacked neatly on her coffee table. As they led her away, neighbors lined the street in silent salute. At the same moment, Wickham's aide delivered worse news. The inspector general had seized all hospital servers. In the brig, Eleanor requested paper and pen. "What for?" the guard asked. "To write down everything," she smiled. "Before your superiors realized they should have arrested the real criminals first." The military courtroom felt more like a theater, packed with reporters, senators, and uniformed observers. Eleanor entered without chains but with immense dignity, her silver hair gleaming like a crown. Across the aisle, Wickham and Markham whispered frantically with their attorneys, their one-impeccable uniforms now seeming like costumes. The prosecution opened weakly, accusing Eleanor of reckless document handling. Then the first witness, Seaman Martinez's mother, took the stand. Her quiet testimony about her son's preventable death silenced the room. When shown the altered medical records, Wickham's lawyer objected furiously, but the damage was done. Day 2 brought bombshells. A whistleblower surgeon testified that Markham had ordered him to falsify death certificates, and its specialist revealed a secret server storing the original reports. Eleanor sat calmly, occasionally scribbling notes that made prosecutors flinch. On the third day, the defense called Eleanor. For 2 hours, she walked the court through each cover-up, her clinical precision devastating. When the prosecutor sneered, "At your age, shouldn't you be enjoying retirement?" the gallery gasped. Eleanor smiled. "Son, I'm just getting started." The turning point came when Eleanor produced Wickham's handwritten memo containing the nursing home brigade. The judge's lips tightened. "Admiral Wickham," she intoned, "you will take the stand." Wickham's testimony unraveled spectacularly. He contradicted himself, lashed out at disloyal staff, and finally snapped when Eleanor asked simply, "Was it worth their lives?" The judge halted proceedings as Wickham stormed out. That evening, networks replayed the meltdown endlessly. At the hospital, junior staff held an unauthorized vigil. In D.C., senators drafted emergency reform bills, and in her temporary quarters, Eleanor wrote thank you notes to every family who'd trusted her with their stories, her fountain pen moving steadily across the paper like truth itself. The Navy's reforms rolled out faster than anyone expected. Admiral Wickham resigned in disgrace, facing criminal charges. Captain Markham's plea deal implicated dozens more. Eleanor watched the news from her porch swing, her reinstatement letter unopened on the side table. She'd already submitted her retirement papers. At the hospital, new protocols blossomed: anonymous error reporting, enlisted oversight committees, and Eleanor's proudest achievement, the Martinez safety checklists posted in every ward. Young nurses who'd feared coming forward now trained under her guidance, their voices steady as they challenged senior physicians. The invitation arrived on crisp White House stationery, standing beside the president at the Medal of Honor ceremony. Eleanor accepted, not for herself, but for every enlisted person who trusted their leaders. As cameras flashed, she spotted Seaman Martinez's mother in the front row, tears shining. Back in Portsmouth, the hospital director's old office now housed the Carter Center for Military Medicine Part Training Facility, Heart Living Memorial. Eleanor visited weekly, holding story time with pediatric patients and mentoring new nurses. "Speak truth to power," she'd say, "but speak it with evidence." One autumn afternoon, a familiar figure approached Eleanor's garden gate. Wickham, out on bail, aged beyond his years. They sat in uneasy silence until you rasped, "Was this really necessary?" Eleanor studied the fading scars on her hands. "Richard, those kids trusted us." He left without another word. That night, Eleanor updated her will, leaving her home to become housing for military families navigating medical crises. As the moon rose over the naval base, she smiled at photos of her nurses stationed worldwide, each implementing reforms. The system wasn't perfect, but it was healing, and that, she decided, was victory enough.